The other day on Zombroz, Reed was talking about his Perca-Cola posters. And if you don't know, Reed basically sells a poster for each Perca-Cola. And I was thinking about it, and then I said to him, there's probably a group of zombie players, or a generation of zombie players, shall I say, who have never actually used some of those perks, despite having already bought your poster. So there's probably some people who maybe came into the series around Black Ops 3 and never got a chance to play with the perks, say, like Tombstone or Vulturate or PhD, but they still have it on their wall. And it's just an interesting thought. Like, you have PhD Flopper hanging on your wall, but you've never actually purchased PhD Flopper. You've never dolphin dived and had an explosion happen around you, or you've never jumped off a fall ledge and not taken any damage, or been in a tight situation, backed into a corner, pull out the Mustang and Sally and spam at your feet and come out of that situation alive. These are things that don't happen in Black Ops 3, of course, because PhD Flopper was removed from the game. Now, PhD Flopper was removed strictly because of mechanics. And this is because you can't dolphin dive. Jason Blundell confirmed this himself. He said the whole reason was the dolphin dive. Since we can't dolphin dive, it didn't really make sense to put PhD Flopper back into the maps. And that's why it was removed. But there still are other perks that have been removed from the game without much of a really good explanation. There also hasn't really been much of a community cry for these perks. And I know this is kind of a silly thing to say. It's a little whoa, dude, kind of like. It sounds deeper than it really is. It's not actually that deep, but it's still interesting, especially some of us like myself who have been around for a long time and who have played almost every single Zombies map and have purchased every single perk, use them extensively, know where they work well, how they work well, and what situations they're best for, as well as some of the shortcomings of those perks. Other people don't have them and have never had the opportunity. And while a perk like PhD Flopper has a good reason for not being in the game, other removed perks such as Vulturade, Tombstone, and Who's Who are gone, but with no real good reason or explanation, and it's strange to think about why. In many ways, these perks still are in the game, but they've been butchered. Basically, what Treyarch has done is taken these perks apart, picked up all the different attributes, and turned them into Gobble Gums. They've butchered up our perks and made them into a smaller form that you have to get out of the Gobble Gum machine rather than a vending machine. So we have PhD Flopper, and PhD Flopper was basically substituted out for Danger Closest and Slaughter Slide. So Danger Closest would basically protect you from all of the explosive damage, and you can throw a grenade in your hand and it won't kill you. You can fire the Mustang and Sally at your feet and you'll survive. That basically makes up for the lack of explosive damage. And then, while you can't dolphin dive, there is Slaughter Slide, which will cause an explosion every time you slide. And this is basically, if you wanted PhD Flopper, you put on those two Gobble Gums, and that's how you have PhD Flopper. Except, there is no way to protect you from fall damage. However, to be honest, in Black Ops 3, there hasn't been a situation where I wish I had some protection from fall damage, so we'll let that one slide. If you want to play with Vulturade, basically what you have to use is In Plain Sight or Idolize, as well as Alchemical Antithesis, or however the hell you pronounce that Gobble Gum. And this works, but it doesn't quite work like, say, Vulturade did. You can use Idolize, and what that'll do is basically have all of the zombies ignore you. They'll just stand still, and this is kind of like standing in the mist in Vulturade, except when you stood in the mist, the zombies actually ran away from you. So maybe then you use In Plain Eyes, which when you use, the zombies will run away from you. Except, once again, it's not about really standing in a specific place. It's about just popping it when you're in a dangerous situation. If you're backed in a corner, you can pop one of these two Gobble Gums and you'll survive, but that wasn't really what Vulturade was about. Vulturade was about killing the zombies and then sometimes gaining the ability to hide for brief amounts of time. And then you also had the ability to get different stuff from the zombies. So you can get bonus points, and then you could also get bullets, and they would drop the little drops. And this was great. It was one of the best features of this perk. But now you can use Alchemical Antithesis to basically get extra bullets every time you kill a zombie or get any points, except it's no longer just about killing the zombies. It's about gaining points in any way. However you gain points will allow you to gain back ammo. And in some ways, these two Gobble Gums paired together are better than Vulturade, except it just doesn't have the same feel and the same style as Vulturade. Not to mention, it also doesn't have the HUD, or the expanded HUD, which showed you where everything was on the map. Every perk, every wall weapon, every mystery box location. You had all of that, and you didn't have to go searching around like a chicken without its head. And this is the real nitty-gritty of it. While we do have these Gobblegum replacements, they don't work as well as the originals. Now, some Gobblegums have been improvements. Say the Tombstone Gobblegum, which is basically now Arms Grace. Once again, it's pointless in solo. You can chew this Gobblegum all you want, and it doesn't matter what'll happen. You can't respawn, but you do get to keep all of your perks and weapons when you respawn in multiplayer when you're using Arms Grace, and you don't have to go chase after a stupid Tombstone drop somewhere on the map. So I will give it that Arms Grace is an improvement over Tombstone. And then finally, there's Who's Who, and Who's Who does not have any sort of Gobblegum recreation, which is weird because they've taken and butchered all of the little attributes from other perks and brought them in as Gobblegums, but never Who's Who. Why was Who's Who neglected from all the other perks? And this is another interesting question that comes up when they decided which Gobblegums would be in the games as well as which perks would be removed from the games. And at the end of the day, I want to know what your thoughts on this are, especially people who have never played with some of these Perk-a-Colas before. Do you think it's unfair that Treyarch removed them from the game? I know everybody's up in arms about PhD Flopper, but what about Vulturade? What about Tombstone? What about Who's Who? In many ways, these are useful perks, but nobody is ever really up in arms about them coming back into the game. I'd love to have Vulturade because it has so many great benefits, but you can't use all of the Gobblegums at once. I'd rather just have a perk and then have all those attributes with me all of the time so I don't have to worry about spinning the Gobblegum machine. Because let's be honest, the Gobblegum machine in many ways are inferior to the perks. Sometimes all the original attributes aren't there, and in addition to that, a perk is something I have with me all the time, but a Gobblegum is something I have to spin from the machine, acquire through Liquid Divinium, and then also have to hope and spend money on that I get that Gobblegum. If I don't, I have to spend more money again. I'd rather just spend money one time if I want those attributes. And this also takes up viable Gobblegum space. Are you really going to use a bit of Gobblegum on Danger Closest or maybe Alchemical Antithesis? Well, possibly, but depending on what you're doing, you might also not want to. And at the end of the day, it's a shame. I would love to have these perks back, but instead we are stuck with, in my opinion, these crappy Gobblegum substitutes. I'd love to know, though, what you guys think about this. I'm going to go, though. Have a fantastic day, and bye.